Good morning, Bob, and welcome to Hometown Living.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So you wrote a book.
I did.
And so tell me a little bit about the book.
Well, the book's title is, it's a collection of short stories. It's called The Continental Divide, and it's 14 stories, written all in northern Indiana. And when I say the Continental Divide, it's about people living on what's called the St. Lawrence Divide. The better-known Continental Divide goes north to south through the Rockies, but the St. Lawrence Divide actually slices through the top of Indiana. And water that flows, rainwater that hits the north side flows to Lake Michigan, and rainwater that hits the south side flows to the Gulf of Mexico.
I did not know that.
And yeah, well, I didn't either until but I talk about characters that live in those environs.
And so what inspired you to write this book?
Well, I got my graduate degree from the University of Iowa Writers Workshop, which is a fine program. And then I came to work at WSBT, actually, and I worked here for many, many years. And when I retired, I began to write again because I kind of had nothing else to do. I was teaching at Ivy Tech for a while, and it was good. It was rewarding work, but it was also hard work. And I woke up one day and I said, wait a minute, I'm retired. I can do what I want. So I got back to writing after all those years. And this is my lesson for the TV people out there. Deferred dreams can still happen. Everything I wrote in this book, I wrote after retirement.
Wow.
And it was, it's made quite a lot of, it's made a splash in the literary world. It's been published many places. It's in libraries as far away as Oregon, and it's gotten good reviews, and I'm very happy about it.
And so speaking of reviews.
Oh, speaking of reviews, it was recently reviewed in the New York Times by an author named Stuart Dybek.
And I'm sure it was all positive.
It was a rave review, and I was, as the saying goes, I was gobsmacked.
I love that.
Yeah, I was very flattered by it.
So where do the characters, do they resemble people in your life? Or where did they come from?
The town in the book, there's a town that recurs, and the town in the book is called Mount Moriah, Indiana. And I grew up in Middlebury, Indiana, which is about 35, 40 miles from here. So in some respects, I would say it resembles Middlebury. But there's nobody from Middlebury that could sue me, you know. And there's no characters like that are so obviously taken from my life. But, you know, when I say the Continental Divide, I'm talking about the divide between men and women, the divide between salvation and redemption, and sex and death, and life and death. And there's a lot of conflicts. The stories are pretty dark, although I hope that there's a kind of a redemption at the end of them. One of the stories, Please, Mr. Please, everybody's bad and everybody gets killed, but that's the only one.
What's your favorite story out of all of them?
Oh, probably the first one is titled The Continental Divide, and it's about an old lady named Edith who lives in a house right on the divide, and she lives there with her son, LT, who's recently gotten out of the penitentiary. And he was in the penitentiary for meth sales, but also for something called indecent liberties, which I don't explain, but which the reader could probably figure out.
Okay.
And Edith and LT's son Wallace, there's a conflict that goes on, and Edith finally has to make a choice that says, my family, this family of violence and crime will not continue. And I can't say
They got to read the book to find out what's going on.
Too many spoilers. Yeah.
So you have an event coming up.
I do.
So tell me about that.
Well, on Saturday, I'll be at the St. Joseph Public Library for BookCon, which is a gathering of about 36 authors, I think. And there will be workshops and the like, and I'll be in a booth selling my book. So I'm not reading or anything. I'm just sitting there hoping that people come by and, you know, give me money. And I'll give them my book, and I'll sign it for them. But I really hope people are there.
Wonderful. And then in July, you're going to be in Columbus,
In July,
correct?
I will be a featured author at the Columbus Book Festival in Columbus, Ohio.
Wonderful.
And,
well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for what you have written. That sounds very interesting, and I love that it's about a place that's close to home.
Well, I hope people take a look at it. Go to bobjohnsonwriter.com, and you can learn more about it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
If you would like to get your own copy of The Continental Divide, just head over to bobjohnsonwriter.com. Promotional consideration sponsored by